A new report claims that Marvel is scrapping their Daredevil Born Again Disney Plus series that was actually supposed to debut later this year, although it had been delayed. Instead of that series, they are going to do a significant creative reboot of the series, according to the report. The report comes from The Hollywood Reporter's Boris Kidd. He claims that Kevin Feige and Marvel Studios executives are indeed scrapping the show after reviewing nearly half of the 18-episode show's footage while the series' production was paused due to the Writers Guild of America strike that began back in July but was recently resolved and ended. Likely why we're seeing a lot of this movement now, because the Writers Guild of America strike has ended, so studios are able to get to work on doing a lot of the scripting and the pre-production process and all that stuff while the actors, the SAG-AFTRA Guild, is still on strike. But according to Kit, Marvel Studios canned writers Chris Ord and Matt Corman, as well as all the show's planned directors, as they plan a quote significant creative reboot of the series. However, while they have been removed as the series' head writers, they are still part of this new show as executive producers. It's my opinion that it's probably going to be similar to how Doctor Strange director Scott Derrickson got an executive producer role after stepping away from Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness due to creative differences. Kit would also provide details on the now scrapped vision for the show, detailing sources say that Corman and Ord crafted a legal procedural that did not resemble the Netflix version known for its action and violence. Cox didn't even show up in costume until the 4th episode. However, while he reports that the show is undergoing a significant creative reboot of the series, he also claims that Marvel plans to keep some scenes and episodes, though other serialized elements will be injected. So that kind of is really interesting that they're going to keep full episodes and certain scenes, even though they're going for a complete or a significant creative reboot of the series. That seems to not really work, but I think the idea is that what we see from Marvel, and specifically we have evidence of this from the Secret Invasion Disney Plus series that just came back out this past summer, where you had the director of that show revealing that he was still working in post to put together the ending of the show, even after the first episode had debuted on Disney Plus. So the idea is they just shoot a crap ton of stuff, and then they kind of have someone in the editing room working it all together to try and create a coherent story about it, rather than actually having a coherent story in the first place and crafting the show around that and actually doing it like a regular television show. To that extent, which we will get to in another video, but they are indeed restructuring their entire television program, going back to how it used to operate under like Perlmutter when they had Marvel TV being separate from Marvel Studios rather than all being under Marvel Studios as it currently is. But they're seemingly going back to the old ways of doing business, given the fact that seemingly all of their shows are absolutely failing. Daredevil Born Again being the latest example that it's failing before it even gets out of the crib. They're killing it before it can even be shown because they realize that it's absolutely a turd. So that is basically the report of what's happening here. They are indeed scrapping this iteration of Daredevil Born Again, and they're going to try to create a better, seemingly one would think a better version. We'll see what that actually is, whether it's a better version, whether it's a woker version, whether it's a more worse version. We'll see, or maybe we won't see because we probably won't get to see this one, but we'll see what the end product is when it does eventually come out. But one can only imagine this is an absolute another failure for Marvel Studios, for the Walt Disney Company, that are supposedly trying to cut costs, that they are now having to completely creatively redo Daredevil Born Again after they had already had gone into production, were in production, and now they're having to redo the entire series because it just wasn't up to par. Massive L on their part, especially from a financial standpoint.
Subscribe for more.